Hey folks, welcome back. And today we're talking about how to reposition reality. So faith is how we tap into our infinite power as humans and to our divine birthright to heaven on earth. But where am I placing my faith when I have faith? Am I placing it in a God of my understanding? Am I placing it in the universe? Am I placing it in myself? Or am I placing it in the angels? True faith can be described as certainty. It's trust. It's knowing that what is not seen must become seen because it is part of a divine shared plan between you and God. Your faith is bound and perceived in the heart of God and within your heart, wherein resides your connection with the peace of God within you. Many externalize the concept of faith to suggest faith in something other than self, a deity or power outside themselves. And this is both true and false. Many also internalize faith to suggest only faith in the self, as God. And this is both true and false too. This is why there's some debate in the community about God and how we've been duped into giving our power away. Inherent in the discourse is the suggestion that it's either or, black or white. God is either out there or in here, and never the twain shall meet. This also reinforces the illusion of separation, and is a trick to keep us not in unity or stuck in duality. And separation is separation. Separation from each other, separation from our heart's desires, and separation from God. Another false premise. It's either this or that, when in fact it's this and that. This is explained to us in the Law of Correspondence, which is to say, the God within us is mirrored by the God without. So, in accordance with this law, it's both this and that. So how do we understand being both of God and of ourselves at the same time? Easy. God put a piece of himself in me, and this is how we stay connected. God put this spark in us all to help us receive his power, and also from this comes knowledge of his will for us, or information. I present God's will for me as essentially the life I was born to live, the path I'm supposed to walk, the plan God and I are unfolding, or my destiny, which is always unfolding and is the path of my life. The challenges I've faced and the life I've lived because of this connection are also part of God's plan for me. And this is probably true for you too, especially if you're watching this video. So in this way, I have a destiny to fulfill, a gift to give, something I must do before I may go home back to the stars. How long it takes is more or less up to me, based on the choices I make and free will decisions I have, or how long I choose not to follow the inclinations shared with me by God, and the extent to which I pursue my will, not God's will for me, and by how much focus I place on this false reality versus how much focus I place on God, my path, and our shared plan. This process is also aided by how much I learn to trust what my heart wants, or how much I learn to love myself. All of this is equal to my ability to hear and understand the plan, or what God has to say to me, since it's all communicated by way of love. The more I love myself, the more love I am, and the more I can understand what love has to teach me. Meanwhile, this God particle within me lives in my heart region. It radiates and amplifies the instant I put my focus there, and manifests as power and love. It's like having a small sun in my chest, and all that's required to go there is focus. This particle also lives within God, and so in this way, we are both one and two. We are both unified and separated, a drop in the ocean and an ocean in a drop. So you see, it really is both. God is both outside of us and inside of us. And now it seems pretty obvious or self-evident, but a second ago it wasn't. Now, what does it do to your mindset to allow this to sink in? To embody the knowing that it's both. To know that when we pray, intend, affirm, proclaim, manifest, transmute, and hold space, we're speaking to ourselves and to our Creator at once. Because there is not separation. God is both inside of me and outside of me, which also happens to follow the golden rule of living in an inverted reality, which is that the opposite of the narrative is therefore the truth, which in this case is not either or, but and both, inside and outside. And this is what faith is based on. This is what we're putting our certainty in. This is the essence of our true power. Faith in God and ourselves. In what God knows and what we know. Faith in our power and faith in God's power. Faith in the laws of the universe that when followed must return what is requested. When Jesus healed, the magnitude of his healing miracle was always in proportion to the amount of faith demonstrated by his subject. So in this way, it was those who came to Jesus for healing who were the true miracles. Those who had faith in the plan shared between them and God. Jesus said, "Go, your faith has healed you." At once he was able to see, and he began to follow Jesus on the way. Mark 10:52. So who healed who? Healers know that we do not heal. We guide those who are in the process of healing to heal themselves. And what was powerful enough to return sight to a blind man? Blind faith. But faith in what or who? Faith in God or faith in knowing that if I can get myself to Jesus, because I'm pretty sure God told me to, I will be healed. Based on the shared plan between the God within me and the God without. I bet if you interviewed that blind guy in 2023, he'd tell you he'd always known he wasn't meant to be blind. He couldn't tell you exactly how he was going to get his sight back, but he knew he was going to get his sight back. He had faith. He had faith in the plan between him and God. So what is Christ trying to tell us here? Your faith has healed you. Not your faith in me has healed you, or your faith in God has healed you, just your faith. Which is to say, your faith in what you knew must be so in order for you to fulfill God's will for you has healed you. It's always a test of loyalty, isn't it? To both yourself and to God. That's the lesson. Faith in yourself and faith in God. Heaven is both within and without us. So what takes us away from faith? 3 words: attachment to outcomes. Which simply put is an attachment to the things unfolding in the exact way we want them to. The other thing about attaching to outcomes is that they put your plan before God's plan. If we hold fixed on an outcome that we want to see, it limits what is possible because we are wanting only one specific outcome, to win the lottery and become wealthy. But there are so many other ways to achieve this outcome, and when we attach to only one of them, we are limited. If I become fixed on one outcome, like my book needing to hurry up and publish and sell a whole bunch of copies so I can become financially free, I'm limiting myself to only one outcome, leading to the true outcome I want, which is being financially free so I can help co-create heaven on earth. So rather than being preoccupied with that outcome only, the trick is to have faith in all outcomes leading to the one that is most in alignment with God's will for me, or the next step in the plan between myself and God. And that means the God within me and also the God without. I'm open to all outcomes. And so when I think, shorter is always better. So instead of, I want to become financially free by winning the lottery, why not just say, may I be financially free? What we are doing here is giving power back to the concept of faith. The dark has done everything in its power to trample on the meaning of faith, to devalue its true meaning. And with good reason. Faith is the key to being superhuman. And yet, in the public lexicon, faith is understood to be almost a joke. If you have faith, the orthodoxy considers you a sucker or a fool. Our society is about self-reliance or elevating the individual's drive, not faith. This is also why the power of pure faith is hidden and kept secret. And the way in which pure faith is achieved is also hidden, because it's the real key to unlocking your superpowers, and why Jesus said, your faith has healed you. Not your connection to me and my connection to the Creator has healed you. What is longing? And what is longing when you remove the concept of impatience from the feeling of longing? Longing truly is the feeling of having what you want, and then also a feeling of impatience once you realize you don't physically have what you want yet. This is why I say learn to love longing, because when you ditch the impatience, what you're left with is the pure feeling of having exactly what you want. I suggest you give it a try. Think of something you're longing for. Now rid yourself of the impatience. What are you left with? The bliss of having exactly what you want. It is beyond certainty. You are literally experiencing it, like dreaming in a waking state. This leads to why most of the words that try and fail to connect us with the not yet seen carry with them always some degree of uncertainty or absence of it. Words like wish or hope or want or desire or anticipation. These words only exist because of the absence of the thing, and they limit our ability to use the word to create. Remember, it's the word from which all things come. It is divine sound that is the cause of all manifestation. Vibration begets form. Vibration is sound. Sound precedes form. Use words as sounds or vibrations to create form. John 1-5, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that hath been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness apprehended it not. This sounds a lot like the sun that I was talking about that lives inside my chest, right? Another way to think of this is that if we are not moved by appearances, appearances are moved by us. So these inadequate words are inhibitors of our power. They fall woefully short of describing the waking dream state of being in the feeling and seeing places of what we want. They limit us from accessing the power of the word to create. The word faith, on the other hand, describes what it is to be in the feeling place of that which you want without any note of its absence. Which by definition means if we can embody the word faith, the unseen must become seen. There is no lack or absence in the word faith or the concept of faith, only certainty of what is. And because time is not real, we know there is no will be, only what is happening now. So my faith is being rewarded now. The divine plan is unfolding and happening now. To have unwavering trust that the steps will come up from the abyss to meet me as I traverse the great nothing to walk my destined path is true faith. Consider the story of Jesus walking on water. During the night, the disciples' boat was battered by waves and they were struggling against the wind. In the early hours of the morning, Jesus came to them walking on water. Seeing him, the disciples were frightened, thinking they were seeing a ghost. Jesus reassured them, saying, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." Peter, one of the disciples, responded by saying, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus invited Peter to come, and Peter stepped out of the boat and began walking on the water towards Jesus. When Peter noticed the strong wind, he became afraid, and he began to sink. He cried out to Jesus for help, and Jesus immediately reached out and caught him and said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" So it was a lack of faith or certainty alone that caused Peter to sink, not the laws of physics, but his lack of faith. And this is the same for us. If we had enough faith, we could walk on water too. True faith is both faith in what God is telling me and my ability to hear it. When we have true faith, we have faith in God's plan for us and our ability to carry it out. We have faith in God's miraculous abilities and our own miraculous abilities simultaneously. We have faith in the power of our connection with God. We have faith in the power of God's connection to us. And in this way, do not worry about how it will be so or attach to an outcome. Just know that it will be. Peter couldn't explain how he was able to walk on water. He believed he could for a second and then did. And finally, if we're ever in doubt, then we pray for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry it out. That said, a lot of us have been doing this very thing for a while now, and I'm hopeful this little adjustment in language and mindset helps make a massive shift in your being and your reality. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.